This is the most comprehensive Facebook ad course online, yours totally for free. For context, I have spent over $4 million on Facebook ads and launched over 2,200 campaigns for my clients. I'm giving this course away for free because we recently changed our offer so that we now do the entire Facebook ad campaign setup for our clients, totally done for you. They don't lift a finger. This course will cover one specific Facebook ad campaign structure called Instant Forms, which is the absolute easiest and fastest way to start generating new leads, calls, and sales for your business. If you want to run a different Facebook ad campaign, for example, direct messaging, 98% of this will still be applicable. Feel free at any point to go below this video to download all of the documents and graphics that I reference totally for free. If instead you don't want to lift a finger and just want us to build you a totally custom, done for you end-to-end marketing system in the next 7 days, you can also book a call with our team. So today we're going to talk about lead form campaigns. And lead form campaigns on Facebook are one of the fastest and most cost-effective ways to test interest and acquire clients at scale. And a lead form is typically best done with what I call a no-brainer offer. And this means that there's not a lot of educating or nurturing that needs to go in to convince the prospect that they need this. This is as opposed to an offer that requires what I like to call two parts of marketing. The first part is convincing someone they need something, and the second part is convincing them that you're the person they need to buy that something from. So a no-brainer offer is something that sells to a person what they already know that they really innately desire: money, fame, sex, status, essentially. Where if you were selling something else, that may still get them to that innate desire, but there's like a few steps to get along the way. So a great example that I use on this is like life coaching, right? So in life coaching, you have to convince someone like, hey, I'm going to make you, or let's say men's coaching for like personal performance, high performance. It's like, cool, I'm going to make you high performing. And in making you high performing, I'm going to get you back more hours of the day. And when I get you back more hours of the day, you're going to be able to work harder on your business. And when you're going to work harder on your business, then you're going to be able to make more money. So the real statuses are making more money, appealing to the different sex, and having better health, right? So if your thing plays into that, but it requires a few steps, lead form is probably not going to be the best thing for you. It's not definitely not going to be the best thing. We've seen it definitely work before, but typically when it's like, hey, we're going to help you get more clients, more leads, we're going to help you get in shape, these are all things that are kind of no-brainers, if you understand what I'm saying there. And I always say, if your offer is understood in 5 seconds or less, so it'd be like, oh, I'm a life coach. Well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Oh, I help chiropractors get an additional 30 clients a month. Okay, you don't need to explain any more than that. So if it's understood in 5 seconds or less, then you'll get leads for potentially around $3 to $5 a piece on the very low end of that scale. And if you set the lead form correctly, which we're going to work with you to do, you can even have booked calls as low as $30 a pop. Now, those are on the low end, just to be clear, but we see it happen, right? Now, the main con of lead form campaigns is the lack of friction in order to get a stranger to become a lead. So most people think that they want as little friction as possible when setting up a campaign, whether marketing, inbound, outbound, but that's not true. It just depends on what you're trying to optimize for, right? So we don't just want as many leads as possible for the lowest cost. So I see this happen all the time. And this can go all the way through the funnel where people just want to get the lowest cost per lead, lowest cost per booked call, where at least in our company, Scaling with Systems, we have a lot of friction that we put in place. People have to watch videos for a certain amount of time. They have to select certain answers in an application to be considered a booked call. And so in my industry, a booked call is typically around $100 to $200. But for us to get all the way to a qualified booked call, it's typically $500 to $700 per booked call, right? So that's because we add a lot of friction, because I don't want anybody talking to my sales team that we don't have a really great chance of closing. Now, that being said, with just a few qualifying questions that you can actually add, this is a new release they did inside Facebook, and a properly scripted thank you page video, much of this can be avoided and you can have quality leads and calls for a very low cost, okay? So let's just dive in really quickly to what a lead form campaign funnel flow looks like. So on the left-hand side, you obviously have the Facebook ad. Then you have, let me just zoom in here real quick. So left-hand side, you have the Facebook ad. That's what we're going to help you set up. Then you have the lead form opt-in page. This is what they click on when they go to the ad. And, then once they say, yes, I want to learn more, they'll click on that and they'll get into the qualification questions. So this is some questions that will help you set up to help know whether they are your target market or not. If they answer the first question incorrectly, then we can actually consider them not a lead, and thus you won't have to worry about following up with them. It won't trigger into your CRM that we're going to help you set up, and it's not going to count on Facebook as far as a lead. So for us, for example, one of our qualifying questions is, are you an online business owner? If the answer is yes, they'll move on to the next question. If the answer is no, they will not. They won't be counted as lead. They'll go to a disqualification page. Then you have a lead form thank you page. Then you'll have the calendar that will help you set up, and then you'll have a thank you page which will help you set up. And then of course there is the call and the sale at the very end of that there, right? So the lead form is a very low friction way to get leads coming in because they never have to leave Facebook, so they don't have to like go to your website or something along those lines. And then once we have gotten their information, then what we can do is go and send them to a calendar, and on that calendar they can book in, and then on the thank you page of that calendar is going to be kind of a little bit more friction and a video in order to get them nurtured and ready for the call, right? So our goal is to validate the campaign in this exact order. Once we launch this, first thing we want to see is, are we getting qualified leads at a decent cost? So are we getting enough people coming in that are in our target market at a decent cost? Then the second question we have to ask ourselves is, are leads booking a call at a decent rate? Then the third thing we have to ask ourselves is, are people showing up to these booked calls? The fourth thing we have to ask ourselves is, are we closing people that showed up to the booked call? So each one of these things has a very specific solution that we're going to be able to help you figure out depending on where we're at. But the very first thing we're trying to do here is not make you a millionaire with your ad campaign. It's just to see, are we getting leads coming in at a decent cost, right? And as far as the costs are concerned, these are the typical costs that we see in a lead form campaign. So cost per lead is $5 to $30. Cost per booked call is $10 to $200. Cost per call taken is $25 to $400. And cost per acquisition is $50 to $800. So, on the low end, you can have a cost per lead at $5 and you can acquire a customer at $50. That's the very, very low end. And on the high end, you might be acquiring leads at $30 and acquiring customers at $800, right? So we recommend a $1,000 test budget to start. And this doesn't mean that we're going to spend all $1,000, but you should be prepared to do it, okay? Because even in the first $1,000, we may not get our first sale. And that's just the truth of the matter, because we're testing a lot of stuff, right? These numbers up here are typically more when the campaign's dialed in. But in the very beginning, we're having to test it. So if we're getting qualified calls in the testing phase, then we know we're on to something. Because let's say we spend $1,000 and we don't have any sales, but we have 4 really qualified calls. Well, then all I know now is we can cut the loser campaigns and we can scale the winners and optimize and split test to get that cost per call from $250 down to $150, down to $100. But in the very beginning, of course, it's going to be more expensive because we're testing all of these different ad sets and all these different campaigns. And of course, don't worry, because we're going to help you with this. You don't have to worry about, do you need to know what to cancel, not to cancel? That's what we're here for. All right, so the first thing we want to do here is set up our Facebook business page and get it optimized, connected to the Instagram account, and get the thing that we're actually going to be running ads on set up and running before we set up the actual advertising account itself. If you already have a Facebook business page, I still would recommend going through this unless you just 100% know that it's as optimized as it can be, just to make sure that we're set up for success. So all of these have been created in a very specific order to make sure that you get them done correctly, okay? So the first thing I need you to do here is go to your Facebook homepage. Should look something very similar to this. You can see at facebook.com and you can log in. And then in the upper right corner, you can see this kind of 9 dots right here, this menu. You can click on that. And then if you scroll down, you'll see something that says page right here. We're going to click on page. Now, if you already have a page, you should see that when you clicked on that dot there. And so you can just go directly to that page. But I'm going to assume that some people here don't already have a page. So how do we set it up? Well, you can see that you can name it over here. So let's just call this page something like scaling page, or scaling IO. We'll just call it scaling. And then the category, you want to type in something that is actually your category. So I'm just going to type in advertising and marketing here. I would recommend adding a bio here. So something like we help life-changing businesses achieve massive scale through simple systems. So this is actually what the vision, the mission statement of our scaling with systems company is. And then I'm going to click create page right here. It's going to load for 1 second. And as soon as it's done loading, it says finish setting up your page. So what we're going to want to do is add our website. So I'm just going to add in a make-believe website here because I don't want this to pick up ours. So let's just say www.scaling.com. And then the phone number we're going to add in is going to be, once again, a random phone number, but you would add in your phone number. Oh, there we go. Must have a country code. So I think we have to add a 1 there. Oh, wait 1 second. Let me get this correct. Okay, so you should have your website put in here. You should have your phone number put in here or your business phone number. Then we're going to add the email here. So let's just say akif@scaling.com. And then the location of where you're located at. So I want to put something like, let's just say 1233 Shafter Street. And then we'll call it in Los Angeles, California. And then you put in the zip code 33873. Okay. I usually put hours, especially if you're in internet business, and then we'll click next down here. It'll take us to the next page here in just 1 moment. Okay, so on the next page here, you can see on the bottom left-hand side over here, we have the intro, we have the page itself, we have the address, we have the phone number, we have the email, and we have the website. So now when people land on our page, when we're running ads, they can see that it's a legitimate business. And then what we're going to want to do now is add a profile photo and a cover photo. So this is how people can actually, whenever they see an ad, usually in an ad, you'll see in the top left-hand corner, there's a profile photo. So my biggest recommendation would be to put a person's face on there because that is going to have the highest conversion rates typically, but maybe you just want to use the brand of the company, then I would just put the logo of the company on there. So I'm going to pause this, grab something from my desktop, and put it on each one of these real quick. All right, so I added the Scaling with Systems logo, the mini logo, just right here on the main one, and then you can see I actually added a cover photo of me at an event. My recommendation would be to see if you can get something that is kind of an authority building photo, meaning that if someone landed on this page, it looks like you are legitimate. If you don't have one of those photos, that's totally fine. I recommend you can just go to something like canva.com, canva.com, and set up a cover photo there in just a few moments, okay? You can click add action button if you would like, and this could be something that you'd want to send people to in order to start a conversation with you. Maybe you have a website, maybe you just want to send them directly to your inbox. My recommendation would be if you do have a website, I would add that there. So I would say something like sign up or book now, or you can click this contact us button here and add your website. Or if you don't have a website yet, that's totally fine. Just put send message. I feel like that's typically the easiest thing to do. That way you don't have to worry about having a website and everything set up for you, which we're going to set up with you a little bit later on. So let's click on the next button on the bottom left. And finally, you can see the last thing here says invite your friends. So I would recommend actually taking just a few moments here to invite some of your friends. You can click select all and just send invites, because what we do want is we do want to have this Facebook page have some credibility on there. So my recommendation would be to click on that and invite as many people as you can. That way, as soon as you start running ads, you already have 50, 100, 200 people that have liked that page, and it lends credibility to what you're doing. I'm not going to do that on this one just because this is a sample account, but just to give you guys an example. So then we'll click next once again on the bottom right hand corner, and then you want to make sure that you keep notifications on your profile, and so then we'll click done. And it should spit us back out here, just one moment, on the actual Facebook page itself. And you can see here that this is your new Facebook business page. So final few things I would recommend doing. You can see some of the bios, the website, some of the stuff we've all put is still on here. The final few things I would recommend doing is maybe making 1 or 2 posts on here in case somebody does click on an ad and they come to your page. It is nice to have something there that shows that this page wasn't just created last night, even if it was. So I might take this photo that I just put here a second ago and be like, can't believe I had a few hundred people come see me speak at my most recent event, right? And then I can drop this photo, post it, and now you can see here that there's the photo of that I just put up. So that way, whenever someone lands on here, it has a little bit of credibility. I'd recommend adding anywhere from 4 to 10 different photos and videos. It's okay if you add them all at the exact same time. It doesn't really matter, but it does lend credibility to what we're trying to do here. Now, the absolute final thing that I recommend doing here is that we will be running ads both on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you go over to the top and you see this little manage button next to promote, we're going to click on that. And then on the left-hand side, you want to scroll down to where it says linked accounts right here. I think that I have to move this over just a little bit to show you what that looks like. One moment. So you can see right here, it says linked accounts on the left-hand side. We're going to click on that. And this is where you would actually want to connect your Instagram account. I recommend doing it here because what it's going to allow us to do is start creating retargeting ads, retargeting traffic from people that have visited your Instagram page, visited your Facebook page, and also it's going to allow us to run ads from your Instagram account. The only caveat is that if you don't already have an Instagram account, I do not recommend creating one right now. It's not necessary by any means. You can actually run your ads on Instagram as a Facebook business page. So it's not the most ideal scenario, but if not going to be a make or break it if it's going to be too much work for you. So at this point, if you've watched this video all the way through, we should have a Facebook business page all the way set up. It should be optimized. You should have some good content on it. And then you should connect your Instagram account there as well. And then I'm going to connect a step-by-step how-to guide to this in order to make it easy for you to do this. And at this point, what we're going to do is move on over and start setting up the actual Facebook Business Manager, the business suite, and then we're going to get to the fun part, which is running some ads. All right, so now that we have our Facebook business page set up, optimized, and we have our Instagram attached to it, if you do have an Instagram, let's talk about how to actually set up the Facebook advertising account from scratch and get it optimized. Once again, if you already have a Facebook advertising account, I do still recommend going through these modules to make sure that we're best set up for success. Even missing one or two things here could delay the process of us launching your campaigns, which is not what we want to do here. So the first thing I'd like to do is walk you through the Facebook advertising account hierarchy. And I created a little graph here because this is a question I get most of the time when it comes to Facebook advertising accounts. And the truth is that the Facebook, where you're actually going to be managing your ads from, is all the way down here underneath the ad account and ad campaign. So when we first sign up, there's going to be a lot of different words and terms that are thrown around that you don't know what they are. So I created this for you to make it as simple as possible. So what you need to understand is at the very top of the Facebook advertising hierarchy, the king of the king, the top of the top, what you're going to set up first is what is known as your business suite. And this is where you manage your entire business account. This is where we're going to attach our payment profiles. This is where we're going to link Facebook pages. This is where we're going to do pretty much everything in the very beginning, mostly what we do in this video to get the core foundations of your Facebook advertising account set up. So that's in the business suite at the top level. Then underneath that, you have the actual ads manager itself. And this is where all of your ad accounts live. And this is a little confusing because it's not necessarily where you actually manage your ads. It kind of is, but it's really just more in an ads manager, you have multiple ad accounts, which is this next one down from there. And in the specific ad account, that's where you manage those ads for that ad account. So let me give you an example. If I were to redo this graphic here, you could have one business suite, one ads manager, but then you could have 4 to 5 different ad accounts. And let me actually show you what that looks like. All right, so if you see here, that's actually exactly what I've done. So inside the ads manager, you can have one ad account, then you could have another ad account, and then you could have another ad account as well. So you could have 5, 10, 15, 20. At one point, I had an advertising manager with 99 different ad accounts inside of it. Now, for our purposes, you're probably just gonna have one ad account, especially if you're just setting this up, but I do want you to get a better understanding of what the entire hierarchy looks like together. And then inside of the ads manager, we're gonna be working out of one main ad account specifically, and this is going to be where we manage our ads. So let me zoom in on one of these different ad accounts inside the ads manager here, and you can see that inside of that ad accounts, you have what is known as the actual ad campaign itself, and this is going to be where we choose our conversion type. So depending on where you are watching this video and what campaign you and your client success manager have talked about, this could be a conversion campaign, this could be a direct message campaign, this could be a lead form campaign. The example I gave here was for direct message, but that's something that you're going to work with your client success manager, and we're going to help you set this up all together. But I want to give you that example. Then inside of that ad campaign is the actual ad sets themselves, and this is where we're selecting our targeting and our placement. So for example, one of the ad sets that we select might be a email list lookalike. So we tell Facebook, hey, find me 1 million people that matches these people that are on my email list right now. and we want to run these ads on both Facebook and on Instagram. So that's what you would select, and we're going to help you with that. Select that on the actual ad set itself, okay? And then inside each ad set is going to be different ads. Now, there's multiple different schools of thought when it comes to this, but I usually run only one ad creative, maybe two ad creatives inside of each ad set. That allows me to test and split test, I think, in the most effective way possible, because sometimes if you have too many different ads inside of one ad set, you won't be able to spend enough money across all of these different ads. So if I really wanted to give each ad a go, I would have a different ad set for each of them, and then I would have a specific ad creative there and a specific ad creative here. So in the ad level, you can see this is where you're typically going to be doing, a video versus an image or a totally different angle. So one of the angles in your ads could be something like, we guarantee these results. That's one angle. And then another angle could be something like, we will do this for you, right? So both, they could be talking about essentially the same thing, but the hooks, the angles, what you're talking about in that ad are going to be different. And so different versions of that can catch people's eyes. So for example, if you are, let's do the real estate one, you could talk about, we guarantee, so if you're a real estate agent, we guarantee 3 to 5 new closings the next 30 days or you don't pay, right? That could be the hook of one ad and one ad creative. And then the other side of things, the other ad could say something like, if you're a real estate agent, we will build for you an acquisition system that'll get you 3 to 5 clients in the next 30 days. So you're essentially saying the same thing, but the hooks, the angles are different, and that's why we keep them separate inside of there. So that is what the overall Facebook advertising hierarchy looks like. I'm going to run through it one more time just to make sure we're on the same page. So you have the Facebook Business Suite, which we're about to set up. Then you have the actual ads manager itself. Then you have the ad account, which is inside of the ads manager, which is inside the business suite. Inside that ad account, you'll select the campaign that you want to choose. So this is going to be a direct messaging campaign, a conversion campaign, a lead form campaign, and then you're going to select the actual targeting of what that campaign. So hey, run a direct message campaign to these specific people. And then finally, in the actual ad level itself, you're going to be saying, and I want you to be showing these specific people for the direct messaging campaign this video or this message, and that is what is known as the ad. Okay, so now that we understand how all of that works together, let's actually start setting up the Facebook Business Suite where we're going to be running the ads themselves. So the easiest way is to just go to your Chrome browser, your internet browser, and type in business.facebook.com. And you should enter a page that looks just like this. Now, for some reason, if you don't, there's another option that you might end up on a page that looks like this instead. And this is where you need to go through and follow the prompts in order to actually set up your Facebook Business Suite. But because you already set up the page correctly, like you did in the previous videos that we discussed, it should look more like this. And then what we're going to want to do is click this little drop down arrow in the top left side of the screen here. And as you can see, I already have a business account, but you're going to want to click on create a business account if you don't already have one. And then you're going to follow the prompts here. So let's just call it business. We're going to click on next. And then you can put your first name, last name, and business email there in order to actually create the business accounts. Now, let's just assume that you've already done that. Then we're going to come on back to the same page here, business.facebook.com. We're going to go to the scaling button on the top. We're going to click on the gear icon next to scaling business. Now, this is incredibly important that we do this part correctly, because if we don't do this part correctly, we're really going to be bottlenecked later on when we're trying to set up certain things like custom audiences and lookalike audiences in order to get a more profitable campaign. Now, once we're on this page, we're going to click on business settings right here. And then we're going to see there's a bunch of different settings for our new business that we just set up. We're going to come down to payment methods. And the first thing I'd like you to do is add a payment method to this profile here. This will thus allow us, in order to start running ads whenever we're ready and start setting up custom audiences, it's already set up. So click on add payment method and go ahead and enter that. You can pause this video here. And then what we're going to want to do is come over to add accounts right here. So you're going to come over to add account here. We're going to click on add. We're going to click create a new ad account. The ad account name is going to be the name of the business manager, which is scaling business. America, New York, US dollars is fine. My business is who it is for. Click on create. Perfect. And then we're going to give myself access to the top one and the bottom one here, manage campaigns and manage ad account. We're going to click on assign. And finally, we need to add a payment info. So I'm going to change this and add this real quick. All right, you guys are doing a great job. The very final thing that we need to do here is come back to all tools. We're going to go over and click on audiences in the top right. And we need to set this up because there's likely a chance that we need to do some identity verification. And I want to do it now so we don't have to wait for it later on. So double check and make sure that you're on the right business ad account, not your personal one, but your business one. You're going to want to come over to create a lookalike audience. Then we're going to click on create a new source and custom audience. And then you'll click on customer list and click next. Now, depending if you've ever verified your information with Facebook previously, it may ask you to verify your identity. And that's just going to require you to upload your driver's license or passport to Facebook. Do that right now so that we don't have to delay later on whenever we're setting up the rest of the ad account, because it takes Facebook anywhere from 48 hours to 72 business hours in order to verify your identity. So we want to do it right now so that by the time 2 or 3 days passes and we're ready to turn on these campaigns, we don't have to wait for you to verify your identity again. Don't forget to go below this video and download all of the documents and graphics that I'm referencing totally for free. Okay, so let's talk about getting to know the ads manager even better, because it's important that you understand this, because although we will actually be getting on a call and setting up these campaigns for you, you're going to have to understand this so you know how to adjust it, what to change, and we're going to be doing this together to speed up the execution of getting your campaign live, okay? So inside of your ads manager, at this point, we should have already set up the Facebook business page, connected the Instagram account if you haven't, set up the business manager in order to make sure that it's optimized and ready to start running ads, and then connected the Facebook page to the business manager. You should also understand at a really good level the difference between, you know, the business suite, the ads manager, and ad account, and the actual ad campaigns themselves. And this area right here is where we're going to go in a little bit more in detail on this video. Okay, so the first thing that I need you to understand, and this is going to be silly to some of you, but it's so important, which is naming conventions. Okay, so this is probably going to seem silly, but it becomes a serious operational complexity when you have 50 plus ad sets and you're trying to manage them. Inside of our scaling initiative program, which is our high level program where I work more one-on-one with clients, it's not uncommon. I just had this the other day. We're on the onboarding call. They'll pull up their ads manager and there's like 400 different ad sets, different campaigns, different naming conventions, and they have no idea what's profitable, what's not profitable, what's working, what's going where. And so I ended up just the other day on a 3-hour call with some of my new clients inside Scaling Initiative, cleaning it all out to figure out that one of their campaigns had a 7 times return on investment. But when we first started that call, they said that their ads were just breaking even. And it was because they were so disorganized that they were unable to find which ones were working and which ones were unprofitable and cut the losers and scale the winners. And that's what we're here to do. But we're just asking you to make it a little bit easier by understanding how we do some of this stuff so we can speed up this execution like I talked about. So this is by far the best naming convention method that I have found to date to make it easy when you're inside of the ads manager over here and you have, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 different one of these things at the exact same time. Okay, so what we like to do is every single one of your ad campaigns, your ad sets, and your ads should start with the words SWS, okay? Because what I have learned is that, especially if you're coming to us and you've already run ads and managed ads before, what this will allow us to do is it will allow us to really quickly identify when you send us screenshots or when we're on calls with you, it'll really quickly allow us to identify which ones are we working on with you, right? Which ones have we launched together? Because if you already have a bunch inside of there, it could be really hard trying to find it even with a naming convention. So the first thing we always do is we start it with SWS, and then we do what is known as a pipe. So if you look on your keyboard there, right underneath like the delete or backspace button, if you are somehow a Windows person and still alive, there should be a pipe. You can click on that. And then what we do next is we type in the type of campaign. So is it a direct VSL campaign? Is it a lead form campaign? Is it a direct message campaign, right? And then we put another pipe. And then we add in the audience. So who are we specifically targeting in this? And I'm going to get this more in a little bit, but this is on the ad set level, and an audience needs to be narrowly defined. So it shouldn't just be the audience is like anybody that has a pulse. It could be competitors. It could be software. It could be specifically Tony Robbins or Gary Vee. So the actual name of the people you're targeting so that you could see it on an ad set level, on a high level. And then finally, the actual ad creative itself. What is on that ad creative? And if you look back at the hierarchy dashboard here, it's almost the exact same thing, right? You got the ad campaign, the ad set, and the ad. So if we have it in the naming convention, then we don't need to click through 20 different ad sets to understand what's going on there. And I can tell you that I have ad accounts with 50 plus ad sets in there that I still manage as a CEO of an 8-figure company because it takes me 4 minutes when I have these naming conventions. Now, obviously, I've been running ads for a while as well, but it just makes everything so much easier. So let me give you a few examples of what this may look like, right? Yeah, so the first one is SWS, so that's they all start with that. Then the type of campaign is a direct message campaign. Then the audience we're going after is specifically a custom audience, so one that we've imported into Facebook. Maybe it's like a lead list of customers. And then the ad is Ravi on a snowboard. That's the ad creative. And sometimes I might go a little bit deeper and say Ravi snowboard and then done for you, like the ad says done for you inside of it, okay? So that way, when I'm on a campaign or an ad set level, I can say, oh, okay, this one's doing really well, and this one is the one that custom audience, and it's the one of me talking to done for you. Let's scale it up, let's duplicate it, let's cut it off, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can see a bunch of different examples on here as well. DM campaign, so SWS once again, DM campaign, custom audience, Ravi cat costume. So we're having 2 different ones going after the same custom audience. One ad creative is Ravi snowboarding with a done for you, and the other one is a Ravi cat costume done for you, right? Now, don't worry, we are going to do this with you, so don't worry about setting this up. I just want you to understand what this looks like here, okay? If I were to change this, one below it, let's say I was running direct VSL. I would say SWS, the campaign is direct VSL. The actual ad targeting itself is going to be Gary V, and then let's do Ravi snowboarding once again done for you. So that way I can see, and even at some points you might have a DM campaign and a direct VSL running at the same time, although none of our clients should be doing that, but just as an idea, just so you could see which ones are actually profitable, which ones are not profitable. Then I do the same example down there. So those are what naming conventions are. It's important that you understand how to use them, and we're going to give you a little test later on to see if you actually understand it, but it's important that you do grasp the concept so we can really easily talk to each other like we're pals and we're both geeking out on ads, okay? Now, another seemingly unimportant but incredibly important, seemingly unimportant, and incredibly important thing is going to be columns. And this is the 4th version of our program here, and this is one of the only ones where I've dedicated a separate section to naming conventions and columns, because it's not something sexy, but it is something that will determine our success of us working together. So it's important that when we're setting up columns inside of our ads manager, that we set them up so that they're easy to understand and easy to read. And I personally like to follow the flow of the funnel itself, starting with the top of the funnel, meaning stuff like link clicks, unique link clicks, stuff like that, click-through rate, and moving all the way to the bottom of the funnel, sales. So if I go over to Ads Manager, you can see right here, whenever you start, they kind of give you these custom columns like reach, impression, cost per result, amount spent, and then when the campaign would end if you had an ending result. But to be honest with you, when you're going to be sending screenshots to us back and forth, and we'll talk later on about how we're going to be managing ads and reporting ads, but one of the easiest ways is you're going to be sending us screenshots of what your ad campaigns look like so we can help you understand how to manage them and scale them. And it's going to give us no use if you're taking screenshots of information like this. I don't need a lot of this information, and it's also missing a lot of information that I do need, okay? So what we want to do instead is we want to set it up under a custom column, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. But just to be really crystal clear, I'm going to set one custom column, one view up for you, and you may use just some of all of these. So don't be like, oh, I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to use that. Just set it all up because it's going to be nice and organized in case we do have to pivot later on. It doesn't mean we have to keep on changing the columns all the time, okay? Now, this will all happen inside the actual ad set level. So first thing you want to do is you're on the campaigns. We want to go over to ad sets. And this is where we're going to customize the columns, okay? Because this is where I manage all of my campaigns or all of my ads. Because think of it. Let's say we're running a direct messaging campaign. We're only going to have one campaign called direct messaging. So because look here, there's just one campaign. And then inside this campaign is everything else. So we want to do most of the managing on this level here, on the ad set level. So I'm going to come over here to my Facebook Business Manager, my Ads Manager. I'm going to click on Ad Sets, and then you're going to see this little columns button right here. Click on it, come down and click on customize columns. Now let's go back over here and you can see these are the exact ones that I would like us to be copying over. So I'm actually going to try to zoom out for 1 second so that it makes it maybe easier for you to see it on the screen here. In this specific order, this is how we want to be actually setting up the columns. So I'm going to read these out and I'm going to change these with you on a brand new ad account. Okay. So my first recommendation is you just come here before you forget, click save as preset on the bottom left right here, and then just type in the word scaling with systems. This, once again, makes it very easy later on for us to find where's the preset that you need to be clicking on to make sure that we're managing the ads correctly. Okay, so scaling with systems. And then once we have named it, what we're going to want to do, and let me actually put this in, is we want to start copying over and making sure that the columns have all of these in it. So let's just start doing this together. So it's delivery, campaign, ad set name, amount spent. Let's go back over here. Delivery, ad set name, I don't see bid strategy, so let's go back. Delivery, campaign, ad set name. So we need ad set name. I don't see ads. Oh, delivery. Let's go back. Delivery, campaign, ad set name. Delivery, we want to put the campaign, which is not there, campaign name. So we're going to type it in there, checkbox it. It's going to drop it to the bottom, and then we just drag it to the top, okay? So delivery, campaign, ad set name, delivery, campaign name, ad set name, perfect. Amount spent, budget results. So go back over. Amount spent is all the way down here. So remember, we set this up in specific order so it's easy to understand and flow. So amount spent, budget, and then I think it's results. Amount spent, budget, results. Okay, perfect. Amount spent, budget, results. So let's cancel out last significant event, cancel out attribution settings. So delivery, campaign name, ad set name, amount spent, budget, results. Delivery, campaign name, ad set name, budget, results. Then we need impressions, reach, and cost per result. And actually, let's go here and say we don't have, oh, here's impressions. So impressions, reach, and then cost per result. And I'm actually going to put the cost per result right after result. Let me pause this video and make it easy for you. Okay, so delivery, campaign name, ad set name, amount spent, budget, results, cost per results, impressions, reach. So delivery, campaign name, ad set name, amount spent, budget, results, cost per results, impression, reach. Perfect. We're doing this really well. Unique link clicks, unique link click-through rate, and cost per unique link clicks, right? So unique link clicks is not on here. So let's come back here. Let's type it in. Unique link clicks. Perfect. Then it was unique link click-through rate. Perfect. That's what CTR stands for. So unique link click-through rates. Here it is right here. Unique click-through rates. Okay, perfect. So let me move these up. Unique link clicks. Unique click-through rates. And then we need cost per unique link clicks as well. So come back down here. And then we're going to move this up there. Perfect. So unique link clicks, unique link click-through rate, cost per unique link click, leads, cost per leads, schedules, cost per schedules, purchases, cost per purchase. So that's like going down the funnel, as you can see here. So I don't need the quality ranking, don't need the engagement ranking, don't need the conversion ranking, don't need the ends, and don't need the schedule. So now we just pretty much need the actual conversion events themselves. So we'll look at leads. So let me type in lead. So leads, total, and cost. And then we'll do schedules, total, and cost. And then we'll do purchases, total, and cost, right? And it comes out that looks just like this, exactly the way that we want it. Now, you can add additional things in here if you want to. Maybe there's certain numbers or certain conversions or events or something that you want to have in here. But I'll be honest with you, this is probably the most robust one. I do this for every one of my clients. And so there should be 21 columns selected total. And it goes, once again, I'll run it with you. Ad set, delivery, campaign name, ad set name, amount spent, budget, results, cost per results, impression, reach, unique link clicks, unique link click-through rates, cost per unique link click, leads, cost per lead, appointment schedule, cost per schedule, purchases, and cost per purchase. And if you need to, pause this video and make sure you have this set up correctly before moving forward. And I do believe that each one of these do pretty much explain what they are just by the naming conventions, but I'll go through a few of them that I do see people get stuck up on. So results, what does results mean? Results are going to be essentially of what we're trying to optimize for. So maybe it's messages if you're running a message campaign, maybe it's lead forms if you're running a lead form campaign, maybe it's going to be conversions if you're running a conversion campaign. The cost per that result, so like $10 cost per message, and then impressions is how many people saw your ad. So this is not unique people, it's how many essentially times that your ad was seen. So one person could scroll up and down and see your ad 5 times. That would be 5 impressions. Reach is how many unique people saw the ad. So totally different people on totally different phones or computers. That's what reach is. Unique link clicks is individual people that have clicked on your, essentially clicked on your ad and gone to do something, like gone to send you a message, gone to your website. Unique link click-through rate is the amount of the percentage of people that have seen your ad, what percentage of those actually click through, the cost per unique link click, and then of course we all know what leads, appointments, and purchases are and the cost per those. So then we're going to come down here and click apply. And you can see it says column scaling with systems. And so instead of this like kind of boring column that doesn't really give us any information, this is the original one under performance. We can come down here and click scaling with systems. And here is a column that has all of the information that we need inside of it so that we'll be able to take screenshots of this and actually be able to send that to the team and everybody would understand what they're looking at. So I can kind of scroll all the way to the left here and you can see that it has everything that we talked about in the correct order, so it looks like a funnel. All right, so let's talk about campaigns, ad sets, and ads. As usual, there's going to be a how-to guide below this video on how to set this up step by step, but this video is going to be covering how you can actually set up your campaigns, ad sets, and ads, and how to understand how Facebook Ads Manager works. I would argue this is one of the most valuable videos inside of here because after we launch these ads, you're going to be managing them with our help, of course, but you're going to be primarily managing them. So you need to understand the fundamentals of how this stuff works. And I would argue that some people say, oh, this isn't worth my time. But I would argue that this is probably one of the best things that a CEO could ever do. I personally spend at least 10 to 20 minutes every single day managing the ads for all of our portfolio companies because it is worth my time as a CEO. And I have over 55 team members, and I still make sure that I find the time to do it because I can't really think of anything else that's more important than printing cash for your business, getting cash flow. So anything else that you're telling yourself you need, oh, you need to hire this out to somebody else, et cetera, you need to understand these skills because if you know this, then you'll never have to worry about this business or any other business you run because you'll always have the ability to turn strangers into paying customers, okay? Now, once you get your launch document, you'll be able to set up this campaign on your own using the launch document, just copying over the campaigns, the ad targeting, et cetera, but it's going to be helpful for you to understand exactly how this works. So let's go over to our ads manager. I'm at adsmanager.facebook.com, or if you go back into your business manager, you can click on all tools and just click on ads manager right here. Just to recap, there's 3 main components to your ads manager. There's campaigns. This is the tab we're on right now. And this is like the overall umbrella that was housing our targeting and our ads. And then there's ad sets, which is like the very specific targeting that we're using inside of our campaign. And then of course there's the ads or the adverts. This is the creative, this is the copy, this is the the headlines. This is all of that stuff are going to be under the ad side. So it goes in that order there. Campaigns the largest, ad sets are like the specific targeting and placements and budget and timing, and then the ads are the actual creative copy, all that other thing. So let's go to campaigns. Let's click on create. Now, there's obviously a bunch of different options. You have your campaign objective. I'm only going to talk about the one that you need to launch this campaign, but just really quickly, awareness is essentially useless, but it's like, hey, I don't care. I'm just paying Facebook to show people my business. I don't care if they click or do anything. Traffic is going to be, I want you to show these ads to people most likely to click on my ads, but that's not what we want. Engagement is, I want you to show my ads to people that are most likely to engage. You know, they watch my videos, they respond back to my messages, they like my posts. Leads, which is what we want here. These are people most likely to give me their contact information and become calls. App promotion is obviously if you have apps, and then sales is if you're selling like lower ticket products or e-commerce and your actual purchase is happening in the website funnel, not on a sales call afterwards, which is going to be the case with all of our clients here. So let's go to leads, which is where we're going to want to go. And it says name your campaign, which we always want to do. Remember, naming conventions are very important. So I'm going to say SWS, Instant Form Campaign, right? And then here, we're going to take naming conventions seriously. So we're going to say instant form. And I'll actually just say instant form instead of instant form campaign just to make it a little bit easier. So instant form. And then we're going to say targeting. So this would be the specific targeting. And then add creative. Or we'll just say creative to make it easy. Right? So this is the naming convention so that later on I'll show you when we're looking at the leads and calls that are coming into our software, we're able to very easily identify, oh, this is the exact targeting and the exact ad that this person came from. If you don't follow these naming conventions, it's going to be very hard for us to help you. It's going to be very hard for us to be able to identify where leads and calls are coming from. And when you submit in your ads for us to be able to review your data, all that stuff, it's going to be very hard for us to look through it and figure out what we should be doing. So go ahead and name these naming conventions. Of course, targeting and creative would change once we do actually get our launch document and you guys are setting up your campaign. This would change to the targeting would be email list, lookalike audience, and the creative would be office ad, for example. We would change those naming conventions inside of there. So let's click continue. And then it opens up your little campaign manager here. You're still in the campaign side. There's nothing else we want to do here. You just want to make sure nothing's selected. If you are running something for credit or something along those lines or employment, you might want to do a special category here. But for 90% of you, that's not going to be relevant. So we're not going to select anything. The idea behind special categories is that, like, for example, if you're doing something for credit, you can't technically do advanced targeting like, hey, I want to only target people that are in the top 5 interest brackets or household income brackets in the United States, because you, legally speaking, you can't discriminate that way when you're doing credit, right? Same thing with housing and employment, a bunch of other stuff. But for the majority of you, we're just going to do no categories declared and nothing else is selected here. So then on the left-hand side, we're going to click on the ad set level, and you can see this is the ad set name, SWS Instant Form Targeting Creative. This is, of course, where we do the majority of our targeting and our budget and our timing and our placements and all that other stuff. So we want to make sure it's selected instant form here, which it is. Underneath the Facebook page here, you're going to want to make sure that you select the correct Facebook page that you're wanting to run ads from. And you want to make sure you've accepted Meta's leads ads terms for this page. So if you haven't accepted it, make sure you click on accept right there. Maximize number of leads is what we want. Then we're going to keep on scrolling down here. Make sure dynamic creative is turned off. We don't want dynamic creative. We're always going to start our ads at $50 a day. So we're going to change that to $50 a day. The start date should always be typically a Monday or any really business day of the week at 4 a.m. local standard time. So 4 o'clock in the morning. Because that gives us enough time, that gives the Facebook algorithm enough time to publish it and approve it, and then start spending the budget spread across the entire day. If, for example, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, if I wanted to launch it like right now at 12 o'clock, well then instead of spending that $50 throughout the entire day and trying to optimize it, Facebook's going to try to cram that $50 in the last 12 hours of the day. And most people are really only going to be becoming leads, maybe from 12 to 6 p.m. So it's really only in 6 hours. And that's how you kind of see inefficient ads being run. So we're going to change it back to 4 o'clock in the morning, okay? And this is going to be like our templated ad set campaign here. So you should be doing this alongside of me, so that way when we give you the launch document, you can just use this as a husk that you can duplicate and then add the new ones to. So we're going to have no end date. We're going to scroll down here. This is where custom audiences sit. So if you had to add custom audiences, like for example, in one of the other modules, we talk about email list and, applications and booked calls and leads and maybe ones that you've scraped previously. We can upload all of those inside of here as custom audiences, and we can run lookalike audiences to them where Facebook says, hey, find me an additional 1 million people that match this list of people that I already have. For locations, we always do people living in this location, not recently in. We only want to target people that are living in there. United States, if you're, if you're serving the United States, there's a very good chance you could serve Canada. If you're in Canada, there's a very chance you could serve the United States. So I'd recommend probably doing both of them. So we'll do United States and Canada. We'll scroll down here. The age, for us, I know that we're not going to work with anybody typically below the age of 24 and really nobody over the age of 60. So you'll kind of get a better understanding of what your age group should be of who you're typically working with. Genders, we usually leave it all the way open. I always want to turn off the detailed targeting because it kind of skews Facebook's results to where if we're trying to see which one of these ad sets is a winner, then when we turn on detailed targeting, that means you're telling Facebook, hey, if you can find more people, go ahead and find more people, which you may think is a good thing, but actually in the very beginning, we're trying to identify which targeting is really working well, and you can't do that if Facebook's doing the targeting for you, okay? Languages, if you want to, you can select English, but I typically don't select anything. And then advantage plus placements is what you want to do. Just leave it as automatic on here, okay? So this is the instant form ad set up correctly. This is the templated version. Now, on the ad setup level, you want to make sure your ad name here is the same like we said in the very beginning. Remember, once we get the launch document, you're going to change the name of it to the targeting and change the name of it to the creative. We always have one ad, typically, most of the time, one ad per ad set. You don't want to have multiple ads per ad set because it's going to be very hard to identify the winner. Make sure your Facebook page is selected correctly, and then make sure your Instagram account is selected as well. If you want to, you can connect an Instagram account if you haven't already here. And if you don't have an Instagram account, you can just use a selected page. That's totally fine. On the right-hand side, you can kind of see a little example of what our ad will look like once it actually gets published. So this will let us create one and see what it looks like on different parts, like the Facebook feed, an Instagram feed, a story. We can see all different versions of it here. And then on the left-hand side, you can see we're under create an ad. I personally like to just use single images or videos. That's my favorite thing to do. I do not use carousels. And then the first thing we're going to look at is the actual ad creative itself. So the first thing before we get into the ad copy, what all the text is, this primary text here on the bottom, what we want to focus on is what is the image. And even if we just look at, if I can just move this out a little bit, even if you just look at what the example of a Facebook ad would look like right here, you can see that the first thing that people will typically look at is going to be the image, right? The actual creative itself, not the text, not the headline, not the learn more button, but the thing that takes up the most real estate, which is the image itself. And whenever I am testing my ads or creating new ads, a lot of the times, most of my variations will simply be in the image or the video. It won't be doing little variations of the hook or some of the ad text, because you have to get that down first, as the way that people read ads is the first thing they'll do is they'll see the ad creative, so the video or the image. Then they'll look at the headline below it, where right here it just says hook, and then they'll go up to the top and read the rest of it. So remember, the order of operations of people reading an ad is their eyes. Organically, they're scrolling up on Facebook, Instagram. They get disrupted by looking at your ad, right? Your creative stands out to them. Then they look down, read the headline. If it's something that they're interested in, then they'll go back up, start at the very top, and then scroll down and read the rest of your primary text. So the most important thing when we're talking about the perfect Facebook ad has to do with the actual ad image or the video itself. Now, inside of our company, Scaling with Systems, we literally write out the entire ad script for our clients. So we'll type it out and we'll edit the videos for them. But for you, if you're just starting out and maybe you don't feel so strong on video, I can tell you that ad images work really, really well. Don't listen to anybody that tells you that it has to be video. Some of my best performing ad sets to this day is an ad copy where there's only 10 to 11 words and then a really awesome ad image. And when you're thinking of ad images, what ad images do you want to do? Make sure there's congruency with what you're saying or what your offer is and what your ad image says. I see a lot of people putting up a photo of a banana or something because that'll stop someone's scroll, but Facebook doesn't like that, and Facebook's very smart. And so you want congruency between what the ad image is and what your copy actually says. So in my opinion, the best thing you could do is get something that is scroll stopping and also builds authority or proof of what you're doing. So for example, this is a photo of me at our event Scaling with Systems Live we have every single year in Miami, Florida. And the cool thing about it is, like, just this one photo, in my opinion, is pretty cool. I'm in like a power position by pointing out to the audience, and then you can see there's around 300 people at this event. So here's me in a power position with a suit on, pointing out to the audience, and it's scroll stopping because not a lot of people have an ad image like this, and an image like this, because it's not easy to have an event with 300 plus people here. And then on top of it, people are subconsciously thinking, okay, if these hundreds of people came out to see this person speak, he must know roughly what he's talking about. And of course, this doesn't have to be the case. Plenty of people go see people speak that don't make any sense, but I think you understand the idea behind it. So when we're thinking about our ad image or our ad creative, we want to think of things that establish authority, that show some kind of trust building technique, that give proof that you are who you say you are, right? And then from there, like I said, the next most important thing is going to be the headline. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit here. So the headline itself is going to be incredibly important because that's the thing they see right below the ad image, right? So in my opinion, this is where a really great hook should be. So a hook is how you capture someone's attention. It's either the first 1 to 10 seconds in an ad if it's a video, or it's your headline on the ad itself. And so you don't want to use a hook that says something like learn more or want to learn more, ? Because you have to remember, this is the second thing they're seeing. The ad creative caught their attention. Then they're looking at the hook. So it needs to complement what that ad image says, and at the same time invoke curiosity enough to have them read the rest of the copy. So a great hook, for example, for us is, want us to install our $10 million acquisition system, ? So okay, want us to install our $10 million acquisition system. It plays into this ad creative because it looks like I might run a decent business because all these people are out here to see me speak. And then I play into that image by saying we have a $10 million business. And I say, want us to build that acquisition system for you, which piques their curiosity. And then they go up and read the rest of this, right? So another example of this could be if there was a photo of a guy with 2 women next to him and he was just like absolutely shredded and diced and he's an older gentleman. It could say something like why your T levels are preventing you from being in love, or why your T levels are your worst enemy. T levels being testosterone levels. And I know this because we literally have run these ads for our clients. So something like that. It's like, okay, there's a guy, there's 2 beautiful women, it's an older gentleman, he's incredibly in shape. So these are all things that are signal proof and validity, and that shows what somebody wants. And then the hook plays into that by saying like, hey, it's not you, it's your testosterone levels, and this is why they're killing you. And so now they'll read that, and then they can read the rest of the ad creative. So if I had to tell you, if we had to put on a scale of how much time you spend on creating the ad creative, I would say that 50% of time should be spent on the hook itself. What is those first few words that it says? And then I would say that 30% of the time needs to be spent on the ad image or the ad video, and then the rest can be spent on the ad copy. So where most people put most of their attention is on the primary text up here. They put all of their attention and energy towards this, but like I told you, this is less than 30% of your attention to be spent here. The ad is won or lost in the first 3 seconds when they look at the ad image and they read the headline, right? So then once the headline is done, I never put a description down here, just to let you guys know, I never put a description. As soon as they read ad creative headline, they'll go back up to the top, and this is our perfect Facebook ad formula. So first thing, like I said, is the hook. We repeat the hook at the bottom here. So I would literally say the exact same thing down here that it says up here, so that way there's congruency with what they saw. Also, sometimes people will read the first line of the primary text first, so I want that to be there. And then I always call out my audience. So, we're at the stage in our business where I have no desire just to get link clicks and just to get leads and just to get book calls. We want them with the right people. And for us, that's established online business owners that are doing, at least $8,000 a month, and they're looking to go to $1 million a year, which is around $88,000 a year. And so we'll say something along the lines of, so let's go back to the old example. I'll say something like the hook is want us to build a $10 million client acquisition system inside your business. Then I'll do the line below. This is only for established entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, agencies, service providers, right? So then I'm calling out the audience. And then underneath that, I go into the transformation. Now could be one liner. This could be 3 lines. I think that Facebook is less and less appealing to long form copy. So I'd recommend this is maximum 5 lines. And you're simply saying, how am I going to take you to this transformation? So in my example, I might say, want us to install our $10 million client acquisition system. Attention, online service providers, agencies, course creators, coaches, consultants. Then I go to the transformation. We will build an entire done-for-you client acquisition system and install it in your business in the next 3 days or your money back. right? So that's the transformation. Then they're like, oh my God, wow, this is, then I'll break it down. We do it 3 main ways. First way that we do it is we improve your offer. Second thing that we do is we will build your entire acquisition system, script your videos. And third thing that we'll do is help you manage the ad campaign to make sure that we're profitable and getting the right feedback and adjusting it accordingly, right? So there, I'm walking through what the process looks like. So that's the transformation. And then the proof is simply, we've done this for over 1,200 businesses in the past, 12 months alone. And we'd be happy to work with you and install this with your business. We have the best track record in the industry. And then we go to the call to action. If you want to learn more and want us to build this acquisition system for your business, click the button below this video now and let's hop on a call and talk. Right? So I just created a brand new ad inside of the Facebook Ads Manager for you A to Z, and I'm going to walk through it one more time just to have you understand it, but this is the flow of things. So let's go back to the example I gave you previously for me to run this one more time. So this is the example of the gentleman, older gentleman, 2 beautiful women, he's in shape. And then it says why your T levels are killing you, right? So then up on the hook at the top, I'll say why your T levels are killing you. Then I'll say right here, if you're a male over the age of 55 feeling like a lot of your libido is down and you're not performing like you used to, I need you to pay attention to this message here. It's not, then I go into the transformation. It's not you that's the problem, it's your T levels. You see over time, your T levels as an adult decreases, or you see that at the age of 30, your T levels are in a drastic decline every single year until the year that you die. Most people give up this and live their life with balding hair and like less than average sex libido and less energy than they did before. But what if I told you there was a way around this? What if I told you there was a way that we could work together and without changing anything in your day-to-day life, I could increase your T levels by 200 or 300% in the next 30 days or less? Well, that's exactly what I've done with over 450 males over the age of 40 years old. So there's the proof, right? And then I go to the call to action. If you want to learn how you can boost up your T levels, get back in shape, and get the energy that you desire to be the man that you want to, click the learn more button below and I'll walk you through exactly how we do that, right? And to talk about that ad creative I just gave there, my ad targeting would be wide open. It might just be men in the United States over the age of 40, or maybe men in the United States over the age of 40 that like, the Gold's Gym. I mean, it would be that wide in the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people. And then the destination is going to be your instant forms, right? So in a different video, I'm going to go more in depth on the instant forms, probably the video after this one because they deserve a video on their own. But what you could do is click create form here and you can create a form from total scratch. Now for this video, we're just going to leave this as is because that's going to be covered in a separate video and you can save this as a draft for now. But this is where you're going to set up your Insta form, which is where we're going to collect their information like name, email, phone number, et cetera, et cetera. And then don't worry about this other stuff here unless you do have your Facebook pixel already installed. Then you should see an option to select the Facebook pixel right here, which you want to make sure that you click on. Okay, so that is how you set up the campaign, the ad set, and the ad for your instant form campaign. Okay, so we're getting ready to be able to book our launch call and launch our campaign. And I know you guys are excited, but this is a very important video because this will allow us to target the most qualified people we possibly can on Facebook. And who you target is a big deal when it comes to running advertising. So what we're going to be talking about here is lead list and custom audiences. Okay, so I'm going to walk through exactly what it is, and then we're going to do a how-to step-by-step actually set this up so we're ready when you hop on the launch call to do this correctly. Okay, so pay very close attention. Now this will be where some of our best advertising audiences come from. To date in our company, by far, these are the most profitable ad sets. To give you an idea, when we do regular lookalike audiences, regular interest-based audiences, it could be like a 2x, maybe a 3x return. On the lookalike audiences, we have sometimes a 4x, a 5x, even a 6 times return on investment because they're much more qualified, as I'm going to walk through here in a moment. These are what are known as lookalike audiences. And what a lookalike audience is you're essentially telling Facebook, find me 1 million to 10 million people that are as similar as possible to this list of people, right? So the further larger audience you go, so you go to like find me 10 million people, those of course are going to be less qualified, less similar than the 1 million people. So imagine you were able to talk to Facebook and you said, hey Facebook, here's here's this list of people that I have right here, and I just want you to replicate them and find me a million more just like them. When would that be beneficial? Well, what if you had a list of all of your customers and you were able to say, hey, Facebook, find me a million people that are just like these people that paid me $5,000, right? Or what if it was people that had engaged with your Instagram? Hey, Facebook, find me a million people of people that engage with my Instagram, because maybe those people would also be interested in engaging with my Instagram. So that's a really powerful tool that a lot of the other advertising platforms either don't have, or they don't really have it dialed in yet, that we're going to leverage here on Facebook. Now, there are two main types of custom audiences on Facebook. One is what are known as your sources. So your sources meaning my sources or your sources. Those are email lists. Those are website visitors. Those are like what we own, kind of owned media, right? And then the second one are going to be meta sources. So Facebook sources, Instagram sources. And these are people that have visited your Instagram account, people that have engaged with your Facebook page. So think of it that way. There's meta sources that are just like Meta owns them because of Meta, we have them. And then your sources, which is because of our own work, we have them, like email list, people that have booked calls with you, people that have gotten on sales calls, website visitors, et cetera, et cetera. Now, before we dive into actually uploading these, which we're going to have to do before we hop on our call, you have to understand that there are two main, incredibly important variables when it comes to lookalike audiences. Number one is the quality of the source data, meaning how good is that list that we're giving Facebook, that audience. And number two is the percentage of similarity. So those two variables, how quality the audience is and how similar you'd want them to be, will obviously determine how successful the advertising campaign is. So let's first start with the quality of the source data. So the question that we're pretty much asking is, how much does this list or audience match our ideal customer? For example, a lookalike audience of people that have visited your Instagram, so we get a meta source of people that have visited our Instagram, are much lower quality than those that do a lookalike audience of people that have purchased your products or services. And it makes sense if you think about it. If a lookalike audience is just another million people or 5 million people that are just like this original audience, which one would you rather prefer? A million extra people of people that have liked a photo on Instagram, or a million extra people of people who have paid you $5,000+, right? So that's how you have to think of it. The quality of the source is really important. And that's why a lot of the times, whenever we're working with our clients, we try to get as close to what we call the money as possible. So first thing we're trying to find here, do you have an email list of people, do you have a list of people that have purchased your products or services? How many people do you have on that? Is it enough to upload to Facebook, which is around 300 unique emails? The second one is going to be, if you don't have that, do you have the number of people, do you have 300 people that have hopped on a sales call with you because they were qualified enough to make a sales call? If you don't have that, do you have enough 300 people that have booked a call with you, right? So they haven't hopped on the sales call, but they booked a call with you. If you don't have that, do you have 300 people that have applied to book a call with you? If you don't have that, do you have 300 people that have just become a lead? If you don't have that, do you have 300 people that just visited your website? If you don't have that, do you have 300 people that just visited your Instagram or Facebook? So we're just moving further and further away from the money, and the further away we go, obviously the less quality that audience is going to be. So what we do is we recommend doing exactly what I did there, is start at the source of the money and just work backwards until we have a source data that has about 300 to 500 unique people. And Facebook really is looking for first name, last name, email, and phone number, right? So just be aware of that. And then the second aspect of the variable that determines the quality of the lookalike audience is the percentage of similarity. So whenever you are in Facebook, as I'm going to show you here in a moment, you're going to be able to use a sliding bar, and you're going to say, hey, I want 1% similarity, 1 to 2% similarity, 2 to 3% similarity, 9 to 10% similarity. And as essentially the higher up in that percentage of similarity, the lower that percentage is that audience is similar to your audience. It's a little bit tricky, but the way that I think of it is, it's like the 1% lookalike audience is like there's only a 1% variable degree difference between this lookalike audience and your original one. A 10% lookalike audience means that there's a 10% variable difference between that one and this one. So we want to get a 1% the majority of the time. For most of our clients, we do the 1% almost always. And then if it works out well and we're scaling, we might do a 1 to 2%. And the more similar lookalike audience to the source audience, typically the more qualified it is, right? So what we're going to talk about here is starting all with 1% lookalike audiences. And then once we're starting to scale, a really great source you can tap into to get more quality people to run ads to is going to be the 1 to 2%, the 2 to 3%, et cetera, et cetera. And the 1% will typically yield you about 1 million people, which is plenty. You could spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars running ads to millions of people. But then if you're really scaling quickly, you can go up to the 2 to 3%, et cetera, et cetera. So with that being said, that's exactly what custom audiences and lookalike audiences are. I'm going to walk through now how to set up and how to get inside your Facebook Ads Manager in order to set these up. And then I'm going to finally show you the ones that we would like you have completed before we hop on our launch call with you. All right, so now we are inside the Facebook Ads Manager. You should know how to get inside of here. It's business.facebook.com/ads manager. And what we're going to do is come to the top left side here and click on this little hamburger, and we're going to go over to audiences, right? And then underneath audiences, you can see you have custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and saved audiences. So what we're going to do is come to lookalike audiences and click create a lookalike audience. Now it's going to ask us for our original source that we're going to create the lookalike audience from, so that quality audience that we have. But of course, if you click on this, we don't have any lookalike audiences here, or custom audiences, excuse me, because we haven't set them up yet. So what I'm actually going to do is exit out of this and click it again. And I'm going to click on create a new source. And then I'm going to click create a custom audience. And now you can see what I talked about earlier, which was your sources, which is the sources that we own: websites, customer lists, app activity, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's meta sources, people that have engaged with lead forms, people that have gone to the Instagram account, responded, they went back to our event, et cetera, et cetera. So for this specific one, we're going to talk about uploading customer lists or email list or prospect list. So we're going to click on a customer list here. And we're taken to a page that looks like this. It says prepare your customer list at the top here. And now this is very important that you understand how to set this up, so that way whenever you get these lists from your CRM, your email provider, from Slack, from Sheets, whatever you're using it, you're using the right format. So my recommendation here is what we're going to do is download a template from Facebook that says that, hey, upload the list using this kind of framework here in a CSV. And then we'll take the CSV that we've created elsewhere, like I said, from our CRM or somewhere else. We'll copy and paste it into this template and then upload it to Facebook. So let me click on download file template right here. It's going to open up in the bottom. Let me make it so you can see it. All right, so I'm just going to drag it on my main screen here, and then let me open it up real quick. So it has multiple fields for emails, and then also it has phone numbers, and then it has an ID, which you don't need to worry about, first name, last name, zip, and then city, state, country, date of birth year, gender, age, and value. In all honesty, the only stuff that I think that you're really going to need is email, phone number. So let me delete the majority of the other emails and phones. Let me delete that. And then we want first name and last name. And then if you have zip, city, state, country, that's great. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything else here unless you have it. Most people have, at the very least, an email, a phone number, a first name, and a last name. But also if you have zips, city, state, and country, that also really, really helps whenever you are uploading these to Facebook. So then what I would do was find my own version of this, like inside my CRM, inside my email list. I would download it and I would just copy them line by line. So let's say I had another CSV here that had all my leads from my company inside of here. Well, I would just copy the phone number. I would come in here and I would paste the phone number here. I'd copy the emails. I'd paste the emails here. I'd paste the emails there, and I would do the same thing for first name, last name, zip, et cetera, et cetera. And if you don't have anything, you can just do emails. So you could delete everything except for emails on here. But this is what I'd recommend doing at this point. And the list that we really want to be using is we want to be using any kind of email list that we have, any kind of application or booked appointment list. So people that have applied or booked a call to speak with you, anybody that have actually conducted a sales call with you, and then anybody that is a customer or a client. Those are typically the best custom audiences that we see that work. So you may have one of those. You might just have one, like the lead list, email list, or you might have all of those. It just depends on where you're at in your business journey. My recommendation is not to even do this unless you have 300 at the very bare minimum of something. So I wouldn't, for example, I might have 3,000 people on my email list, so I would definitely do that. But then I might have only, let's say, 50 customers. So I probably wouldn't create a customer list because I don't have 300 of them. All right. So at this step, what we should be doing is coming inside of the Facebook Business Manager, creating a lookalike audience, then adding a custom audience to pull the lookalike audience from, and then you're going to want to copy and paste those custom audiences here. So let's say, for example, this is one that I just did of my email list. I'd come up here to File. I'd click export to, and I want to make sure it's a CSV, and I'm going to call it customer list. Then I'm going to click enter. It's going to save to my desktop. And then over here, back on Facebook, I'll click on next. I'm going to say it does not have a customer value. I do not recommend putting in customer values, so don't worry about that. So you're going to say no, it doesn't have a customer value. We'll click the checkbox down below. We'll click on next, upload file, and then I would say the customer list, and then I would call it customer list.csv, and that's totally fine. And then we would click next. Facebook has identified, yeah, that's the email, that's the phone number, that's the first name, last name, zip, postal, city, state, country. So all of these things are on here, so there's no action needed. If you had columns that didn't match up according to what Facebook has, it might say, hey, there's action that's needed. But because I used their exact template, I just deleted some of those columns. This looks good to go. So I click import and create on the bottom right here. It's going to upload these. And just like that, it has a customer list up and running, right? So that's the really beautiful thing, is that now we have a customer list, and we're going to use these to create lookalike lists from. So you can click on this little check mark here. Then you can create lookalike audience. And now we can say that we want to do a lookalike audience of our customer list. Inside, for me, it would be the United States. United States. I don't combine multiple countries, so just one. And then we're just going to create a 0 to 1% lookalike audience now. So if we come back down here, let's say that I spent the time and I did the email list, I uploaded the application list, the conducted sales call list, the demo list, the customer client list. Then what I would do is come inside of the audiences, and I would start to create lookalike audiences from all of these, because it is from these lookalike audiences that the majority of the time our best ad sets and audiences are going to come from whenever we're starting to run ads. So at this point, what we should be doing at the end of this video is we should be uploading all of the customer list, manual lists we're uploading into Facebook using that template. And then we're going to come in and we're going to click on the check marks next to them, come down here and create lookalike audience. And then we're going to create 1% lookalike audience in the United States for all of those as well. And then the final thing that you can do here is come to create an audience. We're going to go to custom audience once again. And here you can actually do anybody that has engaged with your Instagram account or your Facebook page. So this is really significant and important if you have some kind of Instagram following or Facebook following. So let's go to Instagram account, for example. We'll click on next and say anyone who's engaged with this professional account in the last 365 days. I would call it something like engaged with Instagram. And then I like to say the date here, so 365 days in parentheses. And then I'll click create audience. Now I don't have an Instagram here, so I can't do it, but for you, you should have one connected to the account. And then if we come back and we click create audience, custom audience again, you can do the exact same thing for the Facebook page. So you can see here now it does find the Facebook page. So I would call the audience engaged with Facebook page, and then in parentheses 365 days. Right now, let's create the audience. And now it's going to let me create a lookalike audience from it as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. United States. Bada bing, bada boom, create audience. So now by the time we're done with this, we should have a lot of this already built out, and this is going to help us for our launch call whenever we launch the campaigns. So all of the custom audiences you should have is people that have become on your email list, people that have applied or booked an appointment, people that have conducted a sales call, people that have become clients, people that have engaged their Facebook page, people that engage their Instagram page, and even if you want to, people that have visited your website. So if you've had a pixel for a while, you can actually come in here and click on website. And then we don't have one here yet, but what you'd be able to do is if you had a pixel, you'd be able to create one of anybody that has visited your website in the past 365 days, right? So then those are all the custom audiences we'd create. And then the final step we would do is come in here, just click on the actual custom audience that we have, and then we would click create a lookalike audience in the United States or whatever your country is at 0 to 1%. And once we're done with all of this, then we'll be ready to start actually booking the launch call and launching our campaign. So make sure you take the time to stop what you're doing. You can use the how-to guide below this, but come into Facebook and upload all the custom audiences and create the lookalike audiences, because sometimes it takes anywhere from 20 24 to 48 hours in order for this to actually populate. And so we don't want to wait until the day that we're trying to launch the campaign and realize you haven't done this yet. So this is a critical step to make sure you get done. As always, if you need any help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us inside the Slack channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, so in this video, we're going to be talking about lead form campaign setup. So if you're watching this video, then you're already probably pretty far through getting your lead form campaign set up. You got your ad account set up. You got your business manager set up. You should understand the difference between a campaign, an ad set, and an ad. And this one's going to be specifically just talking about the lead form template. So what is the actual physical lead form itself? Think of it this way. The campaign houses the targeting, which is the ad set, which houses the ad, and the ad houses the lead form itself, right? So instead of sending them to a website or to our direct messaging inbox, we send them to the lead form, okay? So just to recap on the campaign, this is just a campaign that I set up for leads. The conversion is instant forms, as you can see here, and then the actual ad we're on right now. There's no real text or images here because this video is just talking about the instant form part, which is right here. So, and I guess Facebook has changed it to instant forms, which means we may have to change the name of this to instant forms. But anyway, so let's go to instant forms. So we're going to click on create form right here. As usual, I like to give it a naming convention. So we'll call it SWS. And then let's say that this is a form for us, for our company to acquire more clients for our done for you offer. So SWS done for you is going to be what I call the actual form itself. I'm going to always do more volume as far as the form type is concerned. And then we'll come down to the introduction right here. I almost always use the image from my ad because I want there to be consistency from when they saw the ad and what they see as soon as they click on the ad. If you used a video or you want to use a different image, that's totally fine. You can just upload an image right here. And then there's the greeting part, which I actually don't typically do. I don't like having a greeting. I don't think it's necessary. I just go straight down to questions right here. And this is where we're going to start adding custom questions. Now, in a later video, we're going to talk about how we're going to help you set this all up, and we're going to actually create the questions for you. So I don't want you to worry too much about this, but it's really important that we're at least on the same page as far as how this works. So what we'll do is we'll add custom questions first, and then you can see we have pre-filled questions underneath that. So for custom questions, we're going to click on multiple choice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select this very important, this little lead filtering thing right here. You can see I'm turning it on and turning it off. This is what's going to allow us to pre-qualify people before we're even reaching out to them, before we send them to the CRM, before we have automated messaging and text messages and emails, and before you guys pick up the phone and call them and try to get them into an appointment. So we get one lead filtering question. So we want to ask a question that's going to pretty much be like, what is the most pivotal thing? So one example of this that I've done for other clients could be like, are you a real estate agent, right? And then if we say, are you a real estate agent, we could say, yes, the answer is I am a real estate agent, or no, I am not a real estate agent. And then you can say whether it's a lead or not. So if they are a real estate agent, they're a lead. And if they're not a real estate agent, they're not a lead, okay? Now, this is really, really huge because they didn't used to have these and used to have just a bunch of unqualified people coming through the funnel. But now that we have this set up, we can get really qualified people, and we can only be reaching out to those that we know are already qualified. And you can kind of see my face is in the way over here. Let me just see if I can move this real quick. You can see right here where it says on the right-hand side, there's kind of a preview. Are you a real estate agent? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. And this is actually exactly what they would see when they're going through this, okay? So let me put this back down here. Beautiful. Okay, so and then you can add additional questions if you want to. So this, I feel like, is important if you need to add additional questions. So an example of this could be if I come back here, multiple choice. And you can't, as you can see, you can't add more lead filtering. So this is more for your own internal filtering of who to go after. So let's say, have you done at least, 5 deals in the last 90 days? And I always like to repeat the question in the answer. So yes, I have done at least 5 deals in the last 90 days. Or of course, no, I have not done at least 5 deals in the last 90 days. So this one, like I said, will not filter them out from being considered a lead, but we can do that internally in our CRM and our automations, and also for your team to know whether we should be reaching out to these people or not, okay? So those are custom questions. Once again, we'll create these for you. You don't have to worry about it, but it's important that you understand this. And then down here, you have the pre-fill questions. So these are questions that are automatically going to come in from their information on Facebook. So the big ones that we like to do is just email, full name, and of course, probably the most important one, phone number, right? So after they submit the custom questions, if they're qualified, they'll enter in their contact information right here. So I typically say something along the lines of, for the description, please enter in your contact information so that we can reach out and explain how this works, right? Super simple, non-invasive, non-aggressive. Email, full name, phone number. And then you come down here and you can add your privacy policy. Now, if you have gone through this program correctly, you already should have a link to your privacy policy in the campaign that we have selected. So if we talked about lead form campaigns inside of the software that we built for you, there's already a pre-established privacy policy, and you can link it right inside of here. So I'm just going to say scalingwithsystems.com/privacy-policy. Right? And then you can have the link text just say privacy policy. Okay, so very simple, easy to do. I am not a lawyer. If you, I would really recommend having a lawyer review your privacy policy, as well as if you need to add a custom disclaimer, so you can add any disclaimers you want to, like these results are not typical or whatever else you feel like is important. So those are kind of the legal aspects of it. Then we'll come down to the message for leads. Now this is very, very important because this is how we're going to take someone from a lead to a booked call. Okay, so just getting them the lead is a great step, but like I talked about in one of the previous modules, that's the first thing we have to do. The second thing we do is convince the lead to book a call. And most of the time, people have kind of a half, you know what, thank you page after they submit the lead that's like, thanks, you're good to go. But we don't want to do what's known as closing the loop. We don't want to say, oh, you're all good, don't worry about it. We want to say, no, you need to stop what you're doing and book a time on the calendar right now, right? So instead, I'll say something like, wait, you're not done yet. So that keeps the loop open. And then we'll say as the description something along the lines of we have placed a hold on your market area for the next 2 hours. In order to secure your market area, please click the button below to book a call, and we will walk through the entire process. Boom. So now it's like, cool, there's a hold on the market area. You're not going to work with anybody in the market area until they book the call and they can actually show up. If you do not book a call now, we may be unable to work with you as your market area may be taken, right? Then the call to action button, you can just make your own. So this is the link that we would send them to the website, to the funnel that we have already worked out with you. You should already have a templated funnel inside of the software that you downloaded. And don't worry, we're going to set this up with you on the call, but I wanted you to know this is where the link would go to that booking page so they can book with you, get on the calendar, and you can possibly close them. So I'll just put our website right now, scalingwithsystems.com/apply. Right? And then the call to action button needs to say book and secure your market area. Boom. Just like that. So much more powerful than what we had previously, which was like, oh, wait, thanks so much for submitting your lead form. So this can lead to a really high booking rate, which is really what we're looking for in the end. And then there's a message for non-leads. So these are for people that are not qualified in the end. And I just say, thanks. I actually leave this pretty sim. Thanks for your interest. This might not be the best fit for you. And then I say something maybe like check out our YouTube where you can learn more information and get some free training. Boom. And then I would say check out our YouTube. And then you can just put the link. I'm just going to put youtube.com right here. Okay. And then we'll click publish. And you can come over here in the settings tab. There's really nothing that you need to worry about here for now. So we're just clicking on publish. And bada bing, bada boom. We now have a lead form set up, okay? So that's really, really important because now we already know the majority of this. We know how to set up a campaign, set up the ad sets, and set up a lead form. Now, if this confuses you in any way or it's overwhelming, don't worry about it. We're going to set this up with you on a launch call, but my real recommendation would be to do this 3, 4, 5, 6 times and understand how this works, right? You can create multiple different forms and we'll be able to build the one that we're going to use in our campaigns on the call, but it's important you know how all of this works together because the more we can get done before the launch call, the more we can actually do on the launch call itself, okay? So play around with this a little bit more, make sure you understand this, and then go to the next module. I'll see you guys there. We're going to talk about Facebook compliance best practices here. Okay, so the link to this document is going to be below this video as well. Now, this is going to be for advertising and sales page assets that we're creating for you that you may be creating on your own. This is pretty much everything that I've learned, compiled together online from what we've done, having multiple ad accounts and business managers shut down and spoken with literally dozens of Facebook reps and different agencies that work with Facebook reps. And so this is like my best understanding of how to stay compliant on Facebook so we don't get anything shut down and we continue to scale ads, okay? We personally, anything that we give you will always have been checked through this compliance checklist before we give to you. But don't obviously be afraid to check it yourself so you can get better at it, as well as giving this to your marketing team so that they can better understand compliance and run ads that way. Now, before we start using the actual checklist, we need to understand the reasons behind the madness because in all honesty, Facebook's TOS, their terms of services, they're changing on a daily basis. What's compliant, what's not compliant, all of that stuff. And so what you need to seek to understand and what I always try to teach is the foundations, the fundamental level of why things are, so then you can understand it a little bit better, right? So in Facebook, why would they ever want to ban someone who's spending money on their platform? Well, it's because the only way Facebook makes money is if people are using their platform. So Facebook wants to make the most enjoyable user experience possible. This is because this will keep their users coming back to the platform, allowing them to run more ads and thus make more money. So we know that whatever we have to do has to make sure that the user, whoever is on the platform seeing our ads, has an enjoyable experience. So if we know that it needs to be enjoyable, then we just work backwards to figure out what we should not do, right? So we have to ask ourselves, what is not enjoyable? Text taking up the majority of the creative isn't enjoyable. No one went on Facebook to read a newspaper, right? So if you ever see these ads where like 99% of it is just text, Facebook literally doesn't like that and it will demote your ads. Being lied to isn't enjoyable, right? The old bait and switch thing, saying one thing on this end and on the back end, having something totally different, that's not enjoyable. Feeling like you're sold to by scammers isn't enjoyable, right? So using words like get rich quick or using words like you'll be a millionaire tomorrow, or Facebook is really cracking down on webinars lately as well because webinars a lot of times leads to, in the end, people being scammed, right? Being scammed isn't enjoyable. So like feeling like you're being scammed, even if you're not being scammed, and then actually being scammed isn't enjoyable. Being bait and switched isn't enjoyable. Giving out all your information before you figure something out isn't enjoyable. So requiring someone has to give you name, email, phone number, and like the color of their kid's hair before they ever get to see anything, that's not an enjoyable experience, right? And it goes on and on and on. And if you want to, I put inside of here a link to Facebook's more in-depth policies if you want to check it out. Bless you if you want to spend your time going over that. But if you just think whenever we're creating assets and ads that are attached to, and this isn't just Facebook, this is really any advertising platform. Facebook just happens to be the most moody of all of them. Just keep the foundations in mind. Okay, I want to make sure this is an enjoyable experience. No one wants to be told that they're fat and ugly and lazy and poor. Like no one wants to be told that. So we need to make sure our ads don't have that, okay? Another really big point that a lot of people don't realize is that Facebook will scrape video, written, and website assets. So don't think because your video has these words on it and your text doesn't that Facebook can't figure it out. And sure as heck don't think that because your sales letter has it and your ad doesn't that you're safe to go. In my experience, Facebook will go one page deep, meaning that if you send someone from an ad to a website, some kind of landing page, that they will scrape that page. Now, what happens after that page? I can tell you from my personal experience, Facebook typically doesn't scrape that page. I've had what are known as bridge pages, which is where this page in between the ad and their content is like very clean and white glove. And then the page after that, I'm using, claims, and I'm using words that I would never use on Facebook. And I've been able to get around it. On the flip side, I had a client of mine that, we were doing a lead form campaign for. We are 6 times return on investment on it. We were scaling. But for some reason, a lot of our clients, they just want to do a video sales letter. Even though I'm telling them, like, look, we have a good thing. Let's just scale this to the moon. I don't know what it is about video sales letters, but everyone thinks that they're like a solution to everything in this world. And so they're like, oh, video sales. I'm like, dude, let's just keep on scaling 6 times ROAS. Dude, like that's one of the best ones I've heard of. So he went on his own. He created a video sales letter. Didn't tell me. Threw the ads up, same ad, same targeting we had before, but now it was sent to a video sales letter. Next day, the Facebook account was lifetime banned. Now he can't even run the lead form ads anymore. And you know why? It's because he put claims and words on that landing page that I would never have done, that Facebook scraped and then it banned. So it proves that they definitely do scrape it, okay? Now, with all of that being said, even if we do everything correctly, Facebook may still reject our ads. They still may put a ban on, or they may put a hold on our account. Okay. Now, whenever we first launch ads for the first time, they almost always put some kind of hold on it. And that's typically because they need to verify our identity, right? So this takes like 3 to 5 days, or you'll see it all the time. Like, they put a ban on it. We haven't done anything. We appeal it, and then they go, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to ban you. Here's your account back. So I think they just do it for fun. Like, there's just a bunch of people in like lab coats in an office that just love to see people suffer. And so most of the time, that's what I see. And typically within 3 to 5 to maybe 7 business days, we are up and running on the ads again. Now, that being said, sometimes it's something that we aren't aware of, and they won't let us get the account back. So that may happen. And we could do everything right, but still, it might be something weird. Like, for example, one time I was in Los Angeles, and where I was living, and I took a jet from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City, Utah for a meeting. And I opened up my computer in Salt Lake City, Utah, and Facebook saw the jump like with an hour of me being in Los Angeles and me being in Salt Lake City, Utah. They put a ban on the account. Other times is like if your credit card gets declined, they might put a ban on. There's like so many things. So we don't want to, the reason I say this is because don't expect that even if we follow everything here, we're just invincible. But those are much more few and further in between than some of this checklist stuff that I'm going to be walking through here with you, okay? So it does happen. If it does happen, don't worry. Message your client success manager inside the Slack channel. We have ways of working around and getting this back. We're here to serve you. So no matter what, we'll figure out a solution. Understand it does happen, but if you follow these practices, it typically shouldn't, okay? So I'm going to go through this on a more higher level as you guys can read this and spend this on your own time, but I spent quite a bit of time putting this together. So make sure every time you're launching a creative or a landing page, just go through this whole thing. It's maybe 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes to keep your ads manager. I can tell you, I have had dozens of experiences where I'm at a 10 times return on investment and we're scaling, and then the next day my ad account is shut down. And there's literally nothing worse than that in the world, because it's like having access to a money machine, a cash machine, and then you like wake up one morning, you go to get the cash machine and it's locked behind a door. You can't get it anymore, right? So really quickly, just run through this. Number 1, Facebook Business Manager is verified. We talked about that when we were setting up the actual account. The website is verified with Facebook, so you can go inside Facebook and verify that inside your Business Manager settings. So you want to make sure that Facebook, install like an HTML code inside of the website, and Facebook will verify it. The ad and website have congruency, so you don't want to have like an ad with these colors and this text and this offer, and then a website's totally different, right? You don't want to feel bait and switched. Ad and creative have congruency. So like the first one was the ad and the website. The next one is the ad, I guess I should say ad copy. Let me just put it there. Oh no, yeah, so the ad and the creative have congruency, meaning like the offer itself and the creative have congruency. So Don't just put images to capture people's attention. I see this all the time. Someone's, let's say, offering, I don't know, real estate agents lead generation, and then they'll put a photo of a girl holding a banana in all yellow, right? Don't just do that. There needs to be congruency between what you're saying in your words here and what the image and the video does, okay? Don't use a fake play button on an image. Don't do this on your landing page, and don't do this on your ad itself. I actually used to do that. It will result in getting more clicks, but it's going to be a bad experience for the user, which, as we know, can get you in trouble. Your creative should never have more than 20% of text. We all know that. So just like small headlines or words there. Use a custom domain name. Please don't try to save a few bucks by using the domain that your website builder gives you. So that's a big red flag for Facebook. So don't say like, whatever websitebuilder.com.raviabuvala.com/opt-in. It's a big red flag for Facebook. So, and then also don't use free words in your domain that fall into some of the other categories below. So don't be like getfreemoneyin30days.com. That's also gonna flag Facebook. Avoid using the word Facebook or Instagram anywhere on the ad or on the landing page. If you must use it, make sure that you use the trademark after it as well. And also make sure you have disclaimers, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Do not have any time claims if you can help it. So this makes it unbelievable in Facebook's eyes, even if it's believable. So I did X in 30 days, get results in the shortest time frame possible, exponential month-over-month growth. I went from nobody to millions in my bank account, right? This is supposed to say in 6 months. In 6 months, right? So in adding time frames, like you could go from nobody to millions in your bank account, but as soon as you say in 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, Facebook just thinks it's unbelievable. Try to stay away from monetary claims. So this is a little bit more difficult to do, but it is doable, and we've done it before. So instead of using dollar amounts, you have to get creative with it. Get more clients, get more booked appointments, get more leads, something along those lines. And this isn't technically against your terms of service. You can say monetary claims. I say stuff like, here's our $10 million funnel, but I'm kind of flirting with it a little bit, to be honest with you. And I just want to be as safe as possible with you guys. Don't have any before and after claims. So this is especially true for health offers. So don't make any claims like, she was skinny before, or I guess she was overweight before and now she's skinny, before and after photos. Stay away from side-by-side comparisons that show a drastic result. Lower aggressiveness of claims. So it's very funny how literally just by adding the word help, we can lower the aggressiveness of a claim. For example, you will be stronger. That's a pretty aggressive claim. Like there's no doubt in our mind that this is going to make you stronger versus this will help you be stronger. That's also good for the FTC. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother conversation, but the Federal Trade Commission, if you use the word help, all of a sudden, by just adding one word, which has virtually no impact on the success of the campaign, you're really protecting yourself from making too aggressive claims that can get you in trouble later on. Avoid grammatical errors. This is very, very easy, but most people mess it up. Remember, it's supposed to be a good user experience, not a good user experience if people are trying to decipher what you're writing there. Avoid cursing or swearing. This is something that I have a hard time with. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I speak like a sailor. And so, saying these words here, I'm not going to say it because people leave us NPS surveys that say that I curse too much in my videos, and I'm trying to take the feedback well. So using these two words here, that can also get you in trouble as well. Don't ask how much money people owe or how much debt they have. So this is especially true if you're running like some kind of credit offer, some kind of loan offer, something along those lines, or if you are running an offer and you're trying to figure out in the lead form how much money someone has like cash available. That's a big red flag on Facebook. So don't say stuff like that, or don't get too specific with it. Don't use too much ambiguity. So, the staple of good advertising is curiosity, but it has been overused so often that Facebook has banned it, okay? On your ads, opt-in pages, sales pages, try to avoid using too much curiosity. So I do think we should use some curiosity always, or why would somebody click on the ad and why would someone go to the next page? But I got in trouble on YouTube because we would run ads where I'd be like, this one skill, and we'd never say what the skill was. And then sure enough, Facebook or YouTube came back and said, hey, you have to say what the skill is in the video itself, right? So for example, if you do this one thing that I talk about on the next page here, you'll be flooded with new clients. And you can still use curiosity, right? But don't make it bait and switchy. So for example, if you are able to leverage YouTube ads the way that we talk about inside this video here, you'll get flooded with new clients. So you're still saying what it is, but it's like the different way that what people are used to, okay? Don't single out your audiences based on personal information. So no one, if you're trying to provide a good user experience, no one wants to feel like you're running ads like somehow you got this person's personal information. So even if you know exactly who you're targeting, try not to make them feel that way. So don't ever single out medical conditions, race, age, gender, sexual orientation. You can read the rest of this because it can be offensive to certain people. And you can still do this by speaking about the benefits of your product or service rather than the demographics for who it's for, right? So let's talk about age, for example, right? Instead of being like, are you over 65 and lonely and depressed? I might say something like, let's say I'm running a retirement home. I might say something along the lines of, those that move into retirement homes are 60% happier on average than those that don't, right? So it's like, okay, you're not saying, are you old and lonely? But by saying the retirement home, you're happier, you're kind of assuming that they're old and lonely, right? So those are ways you can get around that. And use as many disclaimers as possible. So when you get our funnels, when we help you build out the funnels and you get our copy and paste ones, there's going to be disclaimers on there. We are not a professional. We're not lawyers. Like, please consult a professional counsel to see if you need to update or change them. But we'll add you the ones that our lawyers have built in for us. And you can also add them in the ad to be safe. If you see it in the ad setup, be sure to add it. So there are options inside the ad setup to add a disclaimer on there. In all reality, we don't do it, but you can also do it if you want to do it. And then have a footer with relevant information. This seems so silly, but we don't want Facebook to think that this is a sales page or a webinar or VSL, even if it is. So one of the ways we keep it safe is we make it look like we're a real company by adding privacy policy, terms of use, phone numbers. All of this should be at the bottom of the page to lend credibility to your thing. What does a sales page that's sketchy looks like? There's nothing on the page. You can't do anything except for move forward. What does a real website looks like? There's phone numbers and emails and contact us and a privacy policy and terms of service and the address of the company all at the bottom of the page, okay? And as usual, don't worry, our funnels that we give you will include these, but just make sure you consult your professional counsel. So final thoughts on all of this. I hope you guys really enjoy this. I don't see anything about this on YouTube or online or anywhere else. So no one really would put their name behind this, but I want to make sure you guys get the results that you're coming for inside here. So at this point, you're probably wondering, what can I say? You just told me all of these things that I can say, which all of these online marketers are telling me that's the way that you get clients. Well, the good news is everyone plays by the same rules here. So anyone that wants to run ads on Facebook, and eventually, like I said, Facebook's just the most moody one, but I have seen drastic changes in YouTube in the past 12 months to where they're almost at the level of Facebook. Now, the nice thing about YouTube is they'll tell you why something is wrong and they won't ban you as quickly, but I actually think Facebook is a superior advertising platform. It's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other, but everyone plays by the same rules. So instead of complaining about what you can't do it right, work with us, get creative, and reap the benefits of it, right? Just like everyone said, oh, iOS 14 is going to end the marketing world. It's like, no, everybody who sucks at ads and marketing and is just like fly by night, they're going to get washed away. And then people who actually invest in figuring out how to solve it, they're going to make even more money, right? So in my experience, when you're writing ad creative, when we're doing this stuff together, the less we say, the better, right? So don't be surprised if we give you ad copy and ad creative that's 2 lines long, okay? Because I used to be a big fan of long form copy. However, I realized that every single time we add a line of text or we say another line inside of the video, there's just a bigger chance that we're going to trigger the Facebook algorithm, okay? And so I actually have ads that literally have produced millions of dollars that say 11-minute video shows the fastest way to create a side hustle. That's it. It's a photo of me in a plane with my girlfriend, that copy and text, and then we have like a 4% click-through rate on it. So don't think that we have to have so many words on it. And a lot of times by having less, it's more, both in the terms of the way that the client can comprehend it, as well as not getting flagged by Facebook, okay? And like I said, if all else fails, you can use bridge pages to get around some of the policy. So if you do have something that's inherently totally against Facebook, like for example, cryptocurrency, then we can create bridge pages that stops them from actually reading that you're in cryptocurrency by putting a page beforehand that says something like, be your own bank or something along those lines, okay? So I hope this was valuable for you. Like I said before, the link to this will be in the description below this video. What you guys can do is just get access to this, and then every time you're about to launch anything that's touching Facebook, run through this one time. It'll be 5 minutes well spent. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to go down below and download all of the documents and graphics I referenced throughout the whole video totally for free.